10 different locations. All experienced something unexplainable. Some got phone calls from numbers that don't exist. Others were invited to parties that never happened. Every single one of them reported the same thing. Whatever happened began at exactly 11:03 p.m. and ended at midnight. These are theirs, completely unedited, told exactly as they happened. If you've ever experienced something unexplainable or any night for that matter, drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and if you make it to the end of all 10 stories, let me know which one disturbed you the most. Now, let's start with the first. December 31st, 2018. I was working the overnight shift at a rest stop off Interstate 8, somewhere in rural Pennsylvania. New Year's Eve meant most people were at parties or home with family. The place was dead. I'd taken the shift because the pay was triple time. My manager said I'd probably see maybe 10 customers. Easy. I clocked in at 10 p.m., checked the coffee machines, restocked the pastry case, and settled in behind the counter. The building was one of those older, single-story, large windows facing the parking lot, fluorescent lights that hummed constantly. Behind the main building were the restroom and a small maintenance, woods on three sides, highway on the fourth. By 10:30, I'd helped exactly 2 customers, both truckers getting coffee, both in and out in under 3 minutes. The silence after they left was complete. No music playing, no traffic sound, just the hum of the lights and the occasional click of the ice. At 10:47, the phone behind the counter. I picked it up. Highway rest stop 47, how can I help? Silent. Then a click. Wrong number probably. I went back to scrolling my phone. At 11,003, it rang again. This time I heard breathing, slow, deliberate, then the line went dead. I checked the caller eyed. Both calls showed the same. I didn't recognize it had a local area. I decided to lock the front door. We were technically supposed to stay open until 6 a.m., but management wouldn't care on New Year's. I walked to the entrance and turned the deadbolt. As I did, I noticed something in the parking lot. Footprints in the snow, leading from the tree line to the side of the building. They stopped at the large window near the coffee stand, right where I'd been standing 5 minutes ago. I moved away from the window and went back behind the counter. The footprints had been fresh. The snow was falling lightly, and these weren't dusted over yet. No car in the lot. No one had come inside. At 11:28, the lights flickered just once, then steady again. I called my manager. It went straight to voicemail. I tried texting. Response. Cell service out here was spotty, but it usually worked. At 11:34, I heard a knock. 3 slow knocks on the front door. I looked up. No one there. The parking lot was empty. The footprints were still visible near the window, but no new ones led to the... I didn't move. 3 more. Same rhythm. Same door. I could see the entire front entrance. There was nobody there. The knocking stopped. I waited. My shift didn't end until 6 a.m. That was 6.5 hours away. 11:41, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. How many minutes until midnight? I didn't respond. Another text came through immediately. 19. I looked at the clock on the wall. 11:41, 19 minutes until midnight. Exactly right. My hands were shaking. I tried calling 911. No signal. I tried texting my manager. The message failed to send. 11:50, the lights went out. Complete darkness. The emergency exit signs provided the only light. Red and dim. I could barely see the outline of the aisles. I heard footsteps inside the building, slow, measured, moving from the back hallway toward the main floor. I crouched behind the counter. The footsteps. Then I heard my name, not shouted, spoken clearly. Calm, my full name, pronounced correctly. I held my breath. 10 minutes, I said. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't angry. It was patient. At 11:55, the lights came. I stood up slowly. The store was empty. I checked every aisle, the bathrooms, the back hallway. Nothing. I returned to the counter. My phone buzzed. 5. I grabbed my keys and my coat. Didn't care about the shift or the triple pay. I unlocked the front door and stepped outside. The cold hit me immediately. The parking lot was silent. My car was 50 feet away. I started walking. The snow crunched under my boot. 30 feet from my car, I heard it again. No one in the window. I got in my car, locked the doors, started the engine. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I checked my rearview mirror. Someone was standing in front of the rest stop entrance. Tall, wearing dark clothes, watching my car leave. At exactly midnight, my phone rang. I didn't answer. It rang 23 times before stopping. I drove straight to the police station, told them everything. They sent an officer to check the rest stop. He found the building locked, lights on, no signs of a break-in, no footprints in the snow except mine leading my car. They reviewed the security footage. It showed me working alone all night. No phone calls, no visitors, no one standing in the parking lot at midnight. I quit the next morning. But every New Year's Eve since then at exactly 11:41 p.m. I receive a text from an unknown number. It only ever says, how many minutes until midnight? December 31st, 2001. My girlfriend and I had just moved into a duplex in northern Michigan. We'd been there 2 weeks. Quiet neighborhood, older resident. We figured New Year's Eve would be low-key. Around 9 p.m. we heard music from the other side of the duplex, our neighbors. We hadn't met them yet. The music wasn't loud, just noticeable. Muffled voices, occasional laughter. At 9:30, someone knocked on our door. I opened it. A woman in her 60s stood there, smiling. She wore a dark blue dress, pearls, makeup applied carefully. "We're having a few people over. You're welcome to join us. Midnight toast." I thanked her and said we were having a quiet night. My girlfriend asked who it was. I told her. She thought it was nice of them to invite us. At 10:15, the music got quieter, then stopped completely. I mentioned it to my girlfriend. She said they probably stepped outside. At 10:40, we heard a thud from the other side of the wall. Sharp, like something heavy hitting the floor. We waited. No more sounds. At 10:52, my girlfriend went to the kitchen to get water. She stopped in the doorway. "Did you open the back door?" she asked. I hadn't. I walked over. The door was ajar. Just a few inches. Cold air coming through. I closed it, locked it, checked the deadbolt twice. At 11,008, we heard footsteps in the hallway. Our hallway, not theirs. We lived in a duplex with a shared front entrance but separate interior hallways. No one should have been in. I grabbed the flashlight and checked. The hallway was empty. The front door was locked from the inside. At 11:19, the music started again next door. The same song, playing from the beginning. My girlfriend said it sounded like the same track they'd played her. Same volume, same everything. At 11:33, someone knocked on our door again. I looked through the peephole. The same woman, same blue dress, same smile. I didn't open it. She knocked again, 3 times, patient. "We're about to toast," she called through the door. "You should join us." I didn't respond. My girlfriend stood behind me, watching. The woman waited. Then she leaned closer to the peephole. "It's important," she said quietly. Her eye filled the peephole, unblinking. She stayed there for a long time. Neither of us moved. At 11:47, she stepped back and walked away. I heard her door open and close. At 11:52, the music stopped again. We sat on the couch. The TV was on, but muted. We decided we'd just wait until 12:33, go to bed. At 11:58, every light in our house went out. We sat in complete darkness. I turned on my phone. My girlfriend the same. From next door, we heard voices, multiple people, talking in unison. The same sentence, over and over. We couldn't make out the words, just the rhythm. It was rhythmic and calm. At exactly midnight, stopped. The lights came back on. Everything was silent. We didn't move for 10 minutes. Then my girlfriend said she wanted to leave. I agreed. We grabbed our coats and went to the car. As we pulled out of the driveway, I looked at the neighbors. Every light was off. No movement. No cars parked outside, except the same sedan that had been. We spent the night at a hotel. The next morning, I knocked on the neighbor's door. No answer. I tried again that afternoon. Still nothing. A week later, I ran into the landlord. I asked about the neighbors. He looked confused. "I'm still looking for tenants." I told him about the party, the woman. He shook his head. "There's no party hookup in that unit," he said. "Power's been shut off since October. We moved out in February, but I still think about what she said."
December 31st, 2018. I was working as an HVAC technician. Emergency calls only. Most of the company had the night off, but I'd volunteered for overtime. At 10:22 p.m., dispatch called. Furnace out at a farmhouse 20 miles outside town. Elderly couple. Temperature dropping. I took the call, grabbed my tools, started driving. The roads were empty. Snow had been falling since 8 p.m. Visibility was poor, but manageable. I arrived at 10:58. The house was old. 2 stories. White paint peeling. Single light on in a downstairs window. I knocked. An older man answered. 70s, maybe. He looked tired. "Furnace is in the basement," he said. "I'll show you." He led me through the kitchen and opened a door. Wooden stairs leading down. A single bulb at the bottom. The basement was unfinished. Concrete floor. Low ceiling. The furnace was in the back corner. I checked the pilot light. Out. I checked the gas line. No issues. I relit the pilot and tested the system. It kicked on immediately. "Should be fine now," I said. The man nodded. He handed me a glass of water. I drank it while I filled out the service paperwork. At 11:34, I finished. He signed the form. I packed up my tools. As I walked to the front door, I noticed a photograph on the hallway table. The man from the photo looked like my client. Younger, maybe by 30 years. Standing next to a woman. Both smiling. "Your wife?" I asked. He looked at the photo. His expression didn't change. "Yes," he said quietly. I thanked him and left. As I got in my truck, I checked my phone. A text from dispatch. Client called back. Said you never showed. I stared at the screen. I texted back. "I'm leaving the house now. Job complete." The response came immediately. Client says no one has arrived. Still waiting. I called dispatch. The operator answered. "I just finished the job," I said. "I'm in the driveway right now." "Sir, the client called us 3 minutes ago. No technician has shown up." I looked at the house. The man was standing in the window, watching me. I'm looking at him right now, I said. The operator paused. Can you give me the address? I read it off the paperwork. Another pause. Longer this time. Sir, that address doesn't exist in our system. I looked at the form. The address was printed clearly. I'm sending you the paperwork right now, I said. I took a photo and texted it to dispatch. We don't have that address, the operator said, and we don't have a client by that name. I hung up. I got out of the truck and walked back to the front door. It was locked. I knocked. No answer. I walked around to the side of the house. The window where I'd seen the man was dark. I tried looking inside. The interior was empty. No furniture. No photographs. I went back to my truck and entered the address into my GPS. No results found. I drove 10 minutes back toward town and pulled over. I called my supervisor. He checked the dispatch log. We have one service call tonight, he said. Farmhouse on rural Route 12. Still waiting for technician. That's where I just was, I said. You're 15 miles from that location, he said. I checked my GPS. He was right. I never found the house again. I drove back the next day. The road I'd taken didn't connect to anything. Dead-ended at a frozen creek. The service form disappeared from my truck. I'd left it on the passenger seat. Gone by morning. But I still have the photo I took. The address is visible. So is the signature. I showed it to my supervisor. He didn't recognize the name. Neither did anyone at the company. I stopped taking New Year's Eve calls after that. December 31st, 2020. I was driving cross-country and didn't want to deal with New Year's crowds. I booked a cheap motel outside Omaha. No plans. Just sleep. I checked in at 9:45 p.m. The clerk barely looked at me. Handed me a key. Room 14. The room was small. One bed. Bathroom. TV bolted to the wall. It smelled like cigarettes and cleaning chemicals. I dropped my bag and lay down. The TV remote didn't work. I got up to change the channel manually. At 10:30, I heard voices in the hallway. Loud. Laughing. Sounded like a group coming back from dinner. The voices stopped outside my door. I heard the keycard reader beep in the room next to mine. Door opening. More laughter. Door closing. Then silence. At 11:02, I heard a thud against the wall. Then another. Rhythmic. Steady. I turned up the TV. The noise didn't stop. At 11:18, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Room 14. I stared at it. I didn't respond. Another text. We're in 13. I got up and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. Dim light. Worn carpet. At 11:29, someone knocked on my door. Soft. Almost polite. I didn't answer. The knocking continued. Same rhythm. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. I called the front desk. It rang 15 times. No answer. At 11:40, the knocking stopped. I went back to the bed. My phone buzzed again. Are you staying for midnight? I grabbed my bag. I was leaving. I didn't care about the refund. I opened the door. The hallway was empty. I walked toward the exit. Room 13's door was closed. No light under the door. No sound. As I passed it, the door opened. Just a few inches. Enough to see inside. The room was dark. I couldn't see anyone, but I heard breathing. Slow. Close to the door. I kept walking. The door closed behind me. I checked out at the front desk. Different clerk. Older woman. She looked confused. You're checking out? She asked. Yes. You just checked in, she said. I know. Something came up. She processed the checkout. As she handed me the receipt, she paused. Room 14 wasn't occupied tonight, she said. I showed her my key. She looked at it. We don't use these anymore, she said. We switched to key cards 2 years ago. I looked at the key. It was brass. Old style. The kind you turn. Who checked you in? She asked. A guy. Around 9:45. She shook her head. I've been here since 8. No one else is working tonight. I left. I didn't argue. As I got in my car, I looked back at the building. Room 14's light was off. So was room 13's. But in the window of room 14, I saw someone standing. Just a silhouette. They raised one hand. A small wave. I drove until sunrise. I didn't stop. December 31st, 2022. I was home alone. My roommate had gone to a party. I decided to stay in. I wasn't feeling social. At 10 p.m., I opened my laptop. I wanted to watch a New Year's Eve stream. Something live, just for background noise. I found one with a few thousand viewers. A countdown clock. Fireworks scheduled for midnight. Chat moving fast. At 10:30, someone in the chat mentioned my username. I hadn't said anything yet. I was just watching. The message said, "Hey, my username. Are you ready?" I typed back, "Ready for what?" No response. The chat kept moving. I scrolled back. The message was gone. At 10:55, the stream glitched. The video froze for a few seconds. When it came back, the countdown clock had changed. It now showed my IP address where the time had been. I refreshed the page. The stream reloaded. Clock was back to normal. At 11:10, my webcam light turned on. I hadn't activated it. I checked my settings. Nothing was running. I covered the camera with tape. At 11:23, I received an email. No subject. The sender was my own email address. The body of the email was empty except for one line. "Don't close the stream." I closed my laptop. The apartment was silent. I sat on the couch. My phone buzzed. A notification from the streaming platform. My username started a live stream. I opened the app. My account was streaming. The video showed my living room. The exact angle for my laptop's webcam. I wasn't on camera. The room was empty, but the stream had viewers. 12 people watching. The chat was active. "Where is he? He'll be back. Not much time left." I tried to end the stream. The app wouldn't let me. I changed my password. Logged out. The stream was still live. At 11:48, the chat changed. He closed the laptop. He's on his phone. He's reading this. I put my phone down. At 11:54, my laptop opened. By itself. The screen was facing me. The stream was still running. My living room. Empty. Then I saw movement in the video. Someone walked into the frame. They were standing where I was sitting. I turned around. No one was there. I looked back at the screen. The figure in the video was facing the camera now. They raised their hand, pointed at the screen. At exactly midnight, the stream ended. The chat disappeared. The video went dark. My laptop closed. I didn't touch it for 3 days. When I finally opened it, there was one file on my desktop. A video, titled Countdown. I've never opened it. But every New Year's Eve, the file reappears. Even after I delete it. December 31st, 2017. I was driving home from a friend's house. Rural Virginia. I'd left early to avoid the midnight traffic. At 10:40, my GPS rerouted me. A faster route. It would save 20 minutes. The new route took me off the highway onto back roads. I'd never driven this way before. At 10:58, I passed a small general store. Closed. Lights off. Then nothing but trees. At 11:15, I saw headlights behind me. They stayed close, matching my speed exactly. I slowed down. They slowed down. I sped up. They sped up. At 11:27, the road forked. My GPS said to go left. I went right instead. The headlights followed. At 11:33, I pulled over. The other car stopped behind me, maybe 50 feet back. I waited. They didn't move. I couldn't see the driver. The headlights were too bright. After 2 minutes, I got back on the road. They followed. At 11:42, my GPS rerouted again. It told me to turn around. I ignored it. I kept going straight. The road narrowed. Trees pressed in on both sides. No streetlights. Just my headlights and theirs. At 11:50, the other car flashed its high beams. 3 times. Then again. I didn't know what it meant. I kept driving. At 11:56, the road ended. A gate. Locked. Chained and padlocked. I stopped. The other car stopped behind me. I put my car in reverse. The headlights behind me turned off. Complete darkness. I couldn't see anything in my rearview mirror. I waited. My hands were shaking. At 11:59, my passenger door opened. I turned. No one was there. The door stayed open. Cold air rushed in. I reached over to close it. My hand stopped halfway. Someone was sitting in the passenger seat. I couldn't see them clearly. Just an outline. They were looking forward. Not at me. At exactly midnight, they spoke. Wrong turn. The door closed. When I looked again, the seat was empty. The headlights behind me turned back on. The car reversed. Turned around. Drove away. I sat there until 12:30. Then I turned around. Drove back the way I came. I found the highway 20 minutes later. My GPS had no record of the reroute, no alternate path. The roads I'd driven didn't exist on the map. I reported it to the local police. They said there's no gate in that area, no private property, just state forest. I never took a shortcut again. December 31st, 2023. I found an envelope in my mailbox that morning. No stamp, no return address, just my name handwritten on the front. Inside was an invitation, printed on thick cardstock, embossed text. You are invited to a New Year's Eve celebration. 11 p.m., 427 Maple Street. I didn't recognize the address. I looked it up. It was a house 6 blocks away, a neighborhood I didn't usually walk through. I showed the invitation to my girlfriend. She said we should go. It might be fun. We hadn't made plans yet. At 10:45, we walked over. The house was dark. No cars in the driveway. No decorations. No sign of a party. We knocked anyway. No answer. We tried the doorbell. Didn't work. At 10:52, the door opened. An older man stood there. Thin, gray hair, wearing a suit. "You're early," he said. He stepped aside. We walked in. The interior was dimly lit. Candles. Old furniture. No music. No other guests. "Where is everyone?" my girlfriend asked. "They'll arrive soon," the man said. "Please sit." We sat on a couch in the living room. The man brought us wine in crystal glasses. We didn't drink it. At 11:10, no one else had arrived. "How many people are coming?" I asked. "Just the right amount," he said. At 11:23, my girlfriend whispered that we should leave. I agreed. We stood up. "You should stay for midnight," the man said. He wasn't facing us. He was looking at the window. "We're going to head out," I said. "Thank you for the invitation. You haven't seen the best part yet," he said. We walked to the door. It was locked. I tried the deadbolt. It wouldn't turn. "It locks automatically," the man said. "For safety. Can you unlock it?" my girlfriend asked. "At midnight," he said. We went back to the living room. The man was gone. The candles were still lit. At 11:39, we tried the back door. Also locked. The windows wouldn't open. Painted shut. At 11:48, we heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, moving across the ceiling. "There's someone else here," my girlfriend said. We went to the stairs. The lights were off on the second floor. The footsteps stopped. At 11:55, the candles went out. We used our phone flashlights. The living room looked different. The furniture was older, dustier. The walls were bare. At 11:58, the front door opened. We ran to it. The street was empty. No lights in any of the houses. No cars. We stepped outside. The door closed behind us. At exactly midnight, we heard cheering. From inside the house. Multiple voices. Laughing. Music playing. We looked through the window. The living room was full of people. Dressed in formal clothes. Dancing. Talking. The man was there. He saw us. He raised his glass. We ran. We didn't stop until we got home. When we checked the address later, the house didn't exist. The street numbers skipped from 425 to 429. But I still have the invitation. And every year on December 30th, I get a new one. December 31st, 2019. My wife and I booked a cabin at a mountain resort. Last-minute decision. The website said they had one vacancy left. We arrived at 8 p.m. The main lodge was empty. No staff at the desk. A note said to pick up keys from the lockbox. Our cabin was number 7. Small. 1 bedroom. Fireplace. The heat was already on. At 9:30, we walked to the lodge for dinner. It was closed. The lights were off. The restaurant was empty. We went back to the cabin. We had snacks in our bag. We'd make do. At 10:15, we heard voices outside. People talking. Walking past our cabin. I looked out the window. I saw shadows moving between the trees. Flashlights. At least a dozen people. "Looks like other guests," my wife said. At 10:45, someone knocked on our door. A woman. 50s. Wearing a thick coat. "We're gathering at the main lodge," she said. "Midnight celebration. You should come." "I thought it was closed," I said. "It opens 11:30, she said. "See you there." She walked away. I watched her join a group of people heading up the path. At 11:25, we decided to go. We walked to the lodge. The lights were on now. Music playing inside. We opened the door. The interior was full. Maybe 40 people. all dressed in winter coats, standing in the main room, not talking, just standing. They all turned to look at us at the same time. No one spoke. The music was the only sound. At 11:33, my wife pulled my arm. "We should leave," she whispered. I agreed. We backed toward the door. The crowd didn't move. They just watched. We left. We walked quickly back to the cabin. At 11:48, the music stopped. Then we heard footsteps. Multiple people, walking on the path, getting closer. I locked the door, turned off the lights. We stood in the bedroom. The footsteps stopped outside our cabin. Silence. Then knocking. All around the cabin. On the front door. The back door. The windows. All at once. The same rhythm. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. At 11:56, my wife called 911. No signal. The knocking continued. At 11:59, it stopped. We waited. No sound. Nothing. At exactly midnight, we heard singing. Outside. All around the cabin. Voices in unison. We couldn't understand the words. It wasn't English. Maybe not any language. It lasted 30 seconds. Then silence. At 12:05, we looked outside. No one was there. No footprints in the snow. We packed our things. We left at 5 a.m. We didn't wait for sunrise. When we contacted the resort later, they said our reservation had been canceled. They had no record of us checking in. But our credit card was charged. And we still have the key to cabin 7. It's hanging in our closet. We've never thrown it away. And sometimes, late at night, we hear singing. December 31st, 2021. I was driving from Denver to Salt Lake City. Late start. I didn't plan well. At 11 p.m., I was in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. The gas light came on. I saw a sign for a gas station. Next exit. I took it. The station was old. 2 pumps. Small building. Lights on inside. I pulled up to the pump. No other cars. No one inside that I could see. I tried my credit card. Declined. I tried again. Declined. I went inside. An older man sat behind the counter, reading a newspaper. "Pump's not working," I said. "Cash only," he said. He didn't look up. I pulled out my wallet. I had $40. "40 on pump 2, I said. He took the money, nodded toward the door. I pumped the gas. It was slow. The numbers on the pump clicked over 1 cent at a time. At 11:17, the pump stopped at $39.99. 1 cent short. I went back inside. "It stopped early," I said. The man looked at me for the first time. "No, it didn't," he said. "It says $39.99. He stood up, walked to the window, looked at the pump. "Says 40, he said. I looked. The pump now read $40 exactly. "My mistake," I said. I went back to my car. As I opened the door, I noticed something written on the side of the building. Spray painted in black. "Don't stay past midnight." At 11:29, I started my car. It wouldn't turn over. I tried again. Nothing. I went back inside. "My car won't start," I said. The man looked at the clock on the wall. 11:30. "You should go," he said. "I can't. My car won't start." "Then walk," he said. "Walk where?" "There's nothing out here." He didn't respond. He went into the back room. The door closed. I tried calling a tow truck. No signal. I tried texting. Failed to send. At 11:44, I heard an engine. A semi-truck pulled into the parking lot. The driver got out, walked inside. I followed him. "Excuse me," I said. "Can you give me a jump?" He didn't look at me. He went straight to the counter. The old man came back out. 30 on pump 1, the driver said. The old man nodded. The driver paid. Left. Pumped his gas. Drove away. He never acknowledged me. At 11:53, I went back to my car. I tried the ignition. It started immediately. I didn't wait. I pulled onto the highway. In my rearview mirror, the gas station lights went out. At exactly midnight, I looked back. The station was gone. Just darkness. Empty desert. I didn't stop driving until I reached Salt Lake City at 3 a.m. I tried finding the station on a map. Nothing. I looked at satellite imagery. No gas station on that exit. But I still have the receipt. It's in my glove box. Dated December 31st, 2021. 11:17 p.m. And at the bottom, handwritten in pen. "Thank you for visiting. See you next year." December 31st, 2021. I was driving from Denver to Salt Lake City. Late start. I didn't plan well. At 11 p.m., I was in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. The gas light came on. I saw a sign for a gas station. Next exit. I took it. The station was old. 2 pumps. Small building. Lights on inside. I pulled up to the pump. No other cars. No one inside that I could see. I tried my credit card. Declined. I tried again. Declined. I went inside. An older man sat behind the counter, reading a newspaper. Pump's not working, I said. Cash only, he said. He didn't look up. I pulled out my wallet. I had $40. 40 on pump 2, I said. He took the money, nodded toward the door. I pumped the gas. It was slow. The numbers on the pump clicked over 1 cent at a time. At 11:17, the pump stopped at $39.99. 1 cent short. I went back inside. It stopped early, I said. The man looked at me for the first time. No, it didn't, he said. It says $39.99. He stood up, walked to the window, looked at the pump. Says 40, he said. I looked. The pump now read $40 exactly. My mistake, I said. I went back to my car. As I opened the door, I noticed something written on the side of the building. Spray painted in black. Don't stay past midnight. At 11:29, I started my car. It wouldn't turn over. I tried again. Nothing. I went back inside. My car won't start, I said. The man looked at the clock on the wall. 11:30. You should go, he said. I can't. My car won't start. Then walk, he said. Walk where? There's nothing out here. He didn't respond. He went into the back room. The door closed. I tried calling a tow truck. No signal. I tried texting. Failed to send. At 11:44, I heard an engine. A semi-truck pulled into the parking lot. The driver got out, walked inside. I followed him. Excuse me, I said. Can you give me a jump? He didn't look at me. He went straight to the counter. The old man came back out. 30 on pump 1, the driver said. The old man nodded. The driver paid. Left. Pumped his gas. Drove away. He never acknowledged me. At 11:53, I went back to my car. I tried the ignition. It started immediately. I didn't wait. I pulled onto the highway. In my rearview mirror, the gas station lights went out. At exactly midnight, I looked back. The station was gone. Just darkness. Empty desert. I didn't stop driving until I reached Salt Lake City at 3 a.m. I tried finding the station on a map. Nothing. I looked at satellite imagery. No gas station on that exit. But I still have the receipt. It's in my glove box. Dated December 31st, 2021. 11:17 p.m. And at the bottom, handwritten in pen. Thank you for visiting. See you next year.